IVM.
We started this season talking about all things Parsi and exploring how there's more to us Bawas than Dhansak. But what kind of a Parsi would I be if I didn't have even one mention of the dish on its namesake show? And so for the season finale, here's an episode that's all about Dhansak. On the show today, I have Farhad Karkaria, a digital marketing professional, a home chef, and a fellow podcaster. Together, we talk about why every home has its own kind of dhansak and their own traditions around the perfect dhansak masala. We talk about how the love that goes into a dish affects its taste. And we also explore Farhad's concept of earning a recipe. He talks about why no two ras chawals or curry or dhansak will ever be the same, even when it's made by the same cook. This is Not Just Dhansak, and now let's chat with Farhad. Hi, Farhad.
Hi.
Lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Even before we start.
Yes.
Okay? You have to promise me on air that sometime in the future you'll have me on this episode again.
Yes.
Because if we are talking about Parsi food, I don't think it's going to be done in like 45 minutes, at least for me. So
That's true.
Yeah,
Yes, definitely. We have like a in season 2.
Okay. But is it a promise?
Yes, it's a promise.
Done. Okay.
So let's start from the very beginning. Can you tell
Sure.
me some of your earliest memories around food or cooking, eating Parsi food?
Oh my God. Okay, this is how I see, right? I feel like I saw this on Netflix once and I really believe this. Like, we have core memories when we are kids. Usually, the way you form memories is like very like intrinsic. It's like very strong. And my earliest memories are all about Parsi food. Like really, in fact,
In fact, for most of my childhood memories just are around fish, watermelon juice,
oh my God.
food.
No, and I'll tell you what, I don't want to start with like a sad this, but me and my mom don't get along our entire lives. But I remember her way of showing affection as a child was food.
Yeah.
Like, the way to compensate or say sorry. There was never a verbal sorry. There was never a, because it's too much to say, accept that you're wrong. But my mom would overcompensate with food. So if I had a thrashing on a Monday, Tuesday, I could expect like good farcha.
Nice.
It was like that. And, in fact, I had a very weird problem when I was a kid. I wouldn't call it a problem, but all my cousins used to make fun about me. I used to see people as food. So I remember, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. I used to have this crush on a girl called Pearl when I was a kid. And somehow her legs would always remind me of farcha. So I used to call her farcha.
This is such a Parsi thing to
Oh my
say.
God, I used to call her farcha. And then there was this one auntie like who was always like very strict but also very sweet, so I used to call her patio. Like what I mean. So there was always that sort of food people correlation. And
So now that you've seen me, what's mine?
No, it doesn't work like that.
Achha,
I have to know you for it to, this is you. You know what I mean? Because there can't be two patios.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Parsis are all about the tradition. Like in my house, for example, I grew up eating dhansak every Sunday. So I literally grew up thinking that this is what the world eats on.
Absolutely.
Because we're talking like in the 80s, 90s, there was no internet.
Yeah.
So I just thought that everyone just had dhansak. So was there a similar kind of tradition at your house?
Exactly
What
the
was
same.
it?
Every Sunday. And here's the deal, okay? I don't want to sound cocky, but every Parsi thinks their mother makes the best dhansak. But I genuinely believe my mom made the best dhansak.
What?
Because I'll tell you why. Because it was an assumed thing in my house. Like every Sunday, I would have relatives who drive down from Bombay.
Oh, wow.
Just to eat mom's dhansak. And my mom wouldn't do like, chalo, aaj dhansak che. She would do 10 kilo, 5 kilo. I'm not even kidding. Sunday night, that dhansak is polished clean. With like, I'm talking 3 kilos mutton.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was crazy. In fact, I remember, if we are talking about dhansak, my mom used to get irritated because it's not actually an auspicious dish. You know that.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of non-Parsis know that, but you're not supposed to eat dhansak on anniversaries, birthdays and all of that. But because of the way we would request, on my birthday, I want dhansak, she would just lose it. Like, you can't, because, she used to call it death food.
Yeah.
But, it was a process. I remember my mom's dhansak, it was a Sunday thing, but it would start on a Saturday. But soak all the dals.
So she did all the 3 kinds of dals and the vegetables.
She used to wake up at 3 in the Saturday, to badu like different timings for different soaking of different dals. Making the mutton stock, making the mutton, all of that. And
Wow.
yes, then Sunday.
Okay, now I'm hungry. Now I want to come and have your mom's.
You have to. Oh my God. Also, I'll tell you what, with age, it's kind of I don't know. If she hears this, I'm dead. But I feel like she somehow lost it. It's something I've noticed. Even my dad, there were certain dishes that he was popular for, and now he tries to make them. Maybe they're just too old.
But I also think it's part of the problem is that, we don't document how it's done. So like when I moved from New Zealand to India and I called my mom, so part of the reason I started my blog was because I actually didn't know how to cook any food. So I remember I got married, then I called mom, how do I make dhansak? And she's like, just put a little bit of this, put a little bit of that. And I'm like, what the hell is a little bit? Like, is it one piece? And she's like, no, that I don't know. And I'm like, but if I'm cooking for 6 people versus 12 people, how much should I put? And she's like, no.
Nope.
So unfortunately, what then that happens is that sort of goes away because we've not documented it.
You are talking about going away. Can I tell you something? My mom hates sharing her recipes with me. It's a common thing. Like,
in fact, I mean, this is my pet peeve. Like, why do people not share their recipes? Because
I get it. Why? The older I get, the more I cook because I cook out of my house now and. Sometimes I feel like you earn your own recipes, You work it to a point where you have got it exactly the way you remember it or the way you want it.
But that's also, just because you've written down a recipe and given it to someone, that still doesn't mean that they're going to be able to replicate it.
That's true. But
if someone can replicate it exactly to the point, then that's a credit to you as a recipe writer that you have actually done that precision. Because otherwise, teaspoons ni size changes in a kitchen.
No. In my house, again, if my mom was cooking, you're not even allowed to stand in the kitchen. It was that tough. Can I tell you a crazy story? My mom hated everybody I dated in my life. But there was one girl I fell in love with and my mom was, for the first time, very fond of this girl, okay? Her name was Kashmira. I won't say her last name. And first time, I'm like, wow, my mom is so into someone I'm dating.
Yeah.
So I and my parents had met her parents, so it was pretty serious, okay, back then. And I thought, this is it. This is my chance. I one day told Kashmira that, Kashmira, why don't you ask my mom for her ras chawal and her dhansak recipe? And my mom actually wrote it down and gave it to her. This is the first time she's written it down, documented it and given it to someone, okay? I'm ecstatic. Kashmira came and gave me the recipe. So I had this Cadbury dabbo in my cupboard. So I stashed it in there, okay? And that's it. I had the recipes. And obviously I couldn't cook it until my mom was not in the house. Yeah. And then me and Kashmira broke up. And can I tell you the craziest thing? Even though this was hidden, after 2 months I went to that box. My parents were in Bombay. I thought, let me try and make that recipe. The recipes were missing from my cupboard.
Oh.
Yeah. I know my mom was responsible. So that's how fucking possessive she is. And, a lot of times, a lot of my friends ask me for my dhansak recipe or and I don't get it. I really, it's not like I have a problem or trouble giving it. It's just like I feel a certain sort of possessiveness for it now. It's not like, I want it to die with me. None of that shit. It's just like I feel like I worked it to a point again where you won't get it. You know what I mean? But again, if it's someone who absolutely loves food, appreciates food and all, I'm very down for it. Sharing stuff.
I just always feel that, so I started out as a home cook as well.
Okay.
So, but I also started out as a blogger. So my blog has got all the recipes which I actually cook. But experience has taught me that even sharing the recipe, that doesn't mean that person's not going to order from you. Because, if it's your special occasion, you're not going to sit and make it. Unless it's for people you love or you really want to do it, then you'll do it. Otherwise, you're just going to order. So it doesn't really impact your livelihood as much as you think it does.
It's not because, again, it's impacting my livelihood. It's just, I just feel like, you make dhansak, right?
Yeah.
You know the work that goes into it. You know and I just don't expect anyone to put in that kind of work, So I'll tell you what I do. I have a easy recipe to give away. I have use mangal ka dhansak powder. Just pressure cook mutton in one this and dal in one this. But in reality, I really break it down. Yeah. The dal is separate. All the veggies that go in it, separate, roasted. The mutton stock,
and
the mutton.
That's the stuff that makes the difference.
I know, right? The love, which is something I want to talk about. Like, I always felt, and I noticed this, the days, and it's a running joke in my family, but the days my mom was the angriest, the food used to be the best. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but like we always knew that, oh shit, mom's pissed off today. The food is going to be fucking amazing. It's going to be amazing, you know? It's a running joke till date. We always notice. If she was happy, khalas, aaj bhonu addhar. So, yeah, I feel like it's such an emotion. And I feel like that it's also a lot to do with Parsi cooking itself. Like, you know, the amount of love that goes into it.
Yeah.
I'm sure every community feels like that, but we just do it a little more. I feel.
Yeah. So I understand from all your friends that, you know, you love cooking and you're the person to know for like what food to eat in the city.
So really? Oh my God.
So, I mean, you already spoke about it, but tell us a little bit about your style of cooking. Like, do you cook from recipe books, from blogs?
I honestly...
Do you just kind of... are you like more of an instinctive, like cook where you're just like...
I'd say a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything, but I have... I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people do this. But what I do is, let's say I'm making... Give me an example dish. What's
curry chawal.
Curry chawal, right? What I will do is I will go through 20 curry chawal recipe blogs, 20 curry chawal YouTube this. And then I sort of, this one's added roasted peanuts. So, you know, I'll sort of go through multiple recipes and I feel like, this particular ingredient sounds like a good idea. Little methi seeds, little, you know,
right.
That little bitterness here, that little, whatever it is. I sort of then make one recipe by boiling down like 20 recipes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you make your own version of it.
I do. It sometimes does complicate things. And again, I like... If you ask me my style of cooking, I love simple home cooked food. In my house, actually, 365 days a year, 300 days you'll find ras chawal. I am okay with eating just ras chawal every single day. Ghosna ras chawal, machhina ras chawal, margina ras chawal.
So in my house, we had like almost like a schedule.
Okay.
So it was like Sunday was dhansak, Monday was curry chawal, Wednesday was ras chawal, Thursday was masoor. I mean, it just happened. Like, I mean, no one had sort of planned it or whatever, but it just happened that by Wednesday it was time for ras chawal.
No, for me, it's just too much to think about planning and stuff, especially. So it's just easy for me. I just literally ras chawal. Then the majority of the remaining days is dhandar party or dhandar tarili machi, dhandar something. And Sunday is dhansak.
And also, I mean, the good part about ras chawal is such a versatile dish, right? I mean, it's sad that no one like sort of really talks about it in reference to Parsi food.
How do I give someone a ras chawal recipe when I myself, when I make ras chawal, no two ras chawals are the same. They are like fingerprints. There are no two ras chawals taste the same. They all taste different every time, but it's great. Every time the papeto is a little different today, the ras is a little more ginger garlicky today. Tomorrow it's kharu ras chawal. It just is so versatile. I love it.
And what about vegetarian food? Do you cook any vegetarian? So I had one guest who left her job because her magazine turned vegetarian. So she left it because she was like, I can't deal with
How does a magazine turn vegetarian? I mean, that's so weird.
I mean, so I'm talking about BBC Good Food. Like, it was really horrible. So like I remember I just moved to India. And I was like, I'll subscribe to a food magazine. I went to one of that upper crust shows.
Oh my God.
Subscribed to BBC Good Food for 12 months. And like... The first month, there was like some vegetarian special. So I was like, okay, whatever, like 1 month, nice to know, blah, blah, blah. And before I knew it, like all the months, there was just like vegetarian food coming and the whole bloody magazine turned vegetarian. And I was like, this is like my subscription, the paisa like wasted. Like, I don't want to like subscribe to a magazine with just...
I feel like you've been cheated. Oh my God. But vegetarian food, first of all, what is Edu veg or not veg? You tell me.
Yeah, and is fish veg?
Is fruits of the sea. Fruits of the sea. I hardly. Dhandar again is maximum. I don't. In fact, I was doing a cookout in Goa, and I had to also cook for the vegetarians. And I gave her so many non-veg options, and she was like, Farhad, I also need to give 3 vegetarian things as options. And I had to just improvise. So what I did was, instead of patrani machi, for the non-veg people, I had patrani machi. For the vegetarians, I did a tokri paneer patrani.
Right.
I can't call it patranu paneer. I did a lagannu stew. It seemed a little hectic.
I mean, lagannu stew and ravaya are maybe like the 2 things that you can really do.
I have no idea what ravaya is.
So ravaya is like the baby brinjals, and then you stuff them with the green chutney. chutney.
Okay.
And then you sort of like
I know what
slow
you're talking
cook
about.
it.
Oh, I don't know it was called ravaiya. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
I mean, it's
literally...
actually fully like a gujju dish, which we've just sort of taken and then like typical Parsi style, we've said now this is ours.
Yeah. No, if I'm making a vegetarian, it's not Parsi. I do aloo palak and I love palak. And so I do a lot of like other non-Parsi things. But Parsi ma vegetarian, I have no idea what to cook.
Yeah.
Because in my house, again, curry chawal, all the marghi is wiped clean. Then it becomes boiled egg the next day as a leftover. You just add boiled eggs to it. And that's it. That's how it dies. I don't know. It never goes vegetarian.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, I've noticed that Parsis have this big obsession about like this masala you should get from this place only.
Yeah.
Like my grandfather used to, get us watermelon juice and was only from like this place only. So is this like a Parsi thing, do you think? Or is it just my family was crazy?
No, I think it's a problem. It's a problem dogging the community, especially us who cook. I'll tell you why. My mom uses her own dhansak masala. Now she's not willing to part with that. What goes into that masala? I once took a peek at that list and I saw things on it that I had never even heard of. Like there was your basic masala, but there were like some fucking flour I've not heard of, whatever. So I sometimes end up relying on like Mangal or like your usual MDH, Badshah, whoever's making whatever, and none of them are like. Okay, I'll tell you one masala I love though. Mangal's Parsi Dhana Jeera powder.
Yeah. That's a superb masala.
No, I fucking add it to everything. Like my ras chawal is 10 times better after I started using that.
Because it's not just Dhana Jeera.
Yeah.
It's got like some other 15 other things.
I know, and I actually have an underlying anxiety. I'm sure you also feel it, that what would happen to me if Mangal shut down? What would happen to me if Mangal shut down? I would have no idea how to fucking go back to this.
So when my kitchen moved from Dadar to Mahim, like that was like the first thing. So we, in fact, buy all our masalas from Motiwal.
Yeah.
Because I've actually had customers who quiz me.
Sure.
They're like, where are you buying your masala from? Which vinegar are you going to use? It's none of your problem. Like I'll make you the food. But that's like a very Parsi thing, right? Like you want to inquire like the whole supply chain.
Sure.
So... so when we moved to Mahim, I was like, first call was to like Motilal, like will you like deliver here or what do I have to do? And in fact, we did a consulting. I consulted for a restaurant in Chennai.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm giving you my recipes, but if you don't use Mangal masala and then you use your normal some homemade dhana jeera, then don't tell me if it doesn't come out correct, because
I totally get
that masala has other things in it.
Absolutely. But what? Okay, you just said you don't, but like, what do you do your own dhansak powder, your own this?
So we do, and so I would do it in my home,
you use packaged.
Like where like in my house where I want to make it for those people. But when you're doing it on like a commercial scale and we're going through like packets and packets of it, I don't have the luxury to like sit and like roast 35 things
totally.
and make it. So
oh my God, I don't know who does that anymore, especially in our... And that's the problem of being Parsi. Today I can't go to Google and type dhansak powder recipe. I'm not going to get it. Where do I fucking get it?
Or it'll be some recipe by Sanjeev Kapoor, which was like...
But see, that'll be the dhansak recipe. If I just want the dhansak powder, how it's made, I have no way of finding out anymore, and it's terrifying.
But that's what I mean. Like, I get your point about being protective about your recipes and things like that. But if we don't share it, like
I know.
2 generations on,
it'll die.
There will be like some weird. So I read this dhansak recipe on I won't name the website, but they had dhansak with like pineapple rings in it.
I
was like, what is this? But this is like someone in UK who's made this recipe, and I don't know, like, where have they had this? It was terrifying. I was like, who puts pineapple rings?
I have a friend who recently went to UK, Mirzad, and he sent me a picture from there of pineapple dhansak. And I did not know how to react. I just was stunned. I was just staring at my screen for 5 seconds without realizing what to do with this. There
was another one who like had sprinkled pomegranate seeds on it, and it had some dates in it, and I was just like, what? And so someone shared that recipe in the Parsi group. It was hilarious because Parsis like to create an issue out of everything. So they were all like, we need to write to the chef and like appeal that she takes it, like
just stop him
take
right
him
now.
Down. Like it's a matter of our communities.
Totally. I know.
But it is. We might think this is all like, like a little silly, but one is...
That's another thing I love about our community, right? Who we are as a people, and it actually translates into our food. Let's just take one example. We are adopted. We landed in Gujarat. We are adopted. So much of our food, Parsi cuisine, is adopted food. Today, how different is your prawn patio from a bal chow? It's just like a different, there's a degree of this. So much inspired from Gujarati food. Your dhansak is actually, shaak. So I feel like we have this tendency of, like right now you're saying we don't want someone to ruin our food in any... I feel like we feel like that about marriage, right? Intercaste marriage. We actually translate everything into our food like that. It's so fucking sad.
Yeah. So tell me, when I was researching for the show, by the way, a very hard person to find information about.
This is the second time you're saying that to me.
Very on the down low, like I don't know.
I have no idea what you're talking about because I feel, and my friends constantly tell me, Farhad, you literally live your life online. So I don't know what. Maybe I'll tell you what. You not add me anywhere, so you're just getting limited information. Once you add me, the floodgates are open.
Okay.
Yeah, then it goes mental.
So anyways, the only thing I could find was this, an article you'd written, not you'd written, but it contributed for like the Time and Talents cookbook. And you mentioned that that's like your favorite cookbook. And it's one of my favorite things to talk about on the show.
It's the Bible. It's the Parsi Bible, right? Do you agree? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it is.
I have all the Jamwa Chaloji, I have all the other ones, but when I got, there was a funny story. I was actually at my friend's house. I had never heard of Time and Talents. And I was living in his house and he was going to Goa and I was just in this giant, lovely, beautiful flat. I was living for 3 months. And one day I just happened to be in the kitchen and I saw this really tattered book and it was Time and Talents and it was tattered means like it was on the verge of evaporating. Okay. And when he came back, I was like, Rishad, what the is this book? Why didn't you tell me about it? He's like, no, it's my great grandmother's copy and it's just lying. And I was like, I immediately photocopied it. I shouldn't say that because they have a clause somewhere in the start, do not replicate this book. I don't know if some Parsi police will come for me or something. But what a great book. It's literally got everything except dhansak powder.
Yeah. But what I also love is like it's got all these like really nice tips at the start of the book. So like and those little
poems at the bottom. And I don't know, do you know the history of that book? I found it amazing. Like I really thought it was like a great movie material kind of story, all these affluent Parsi women, pre-independence, nothing to do, all your Tatas and Godrej and all these Parsi wives who had nothing to do. So they start a food club and then the whole process of how they selected all the recipes that get into the book and all of that. I thought that was so rich as a story and like so much again says so much about our people because again, we were like, what is it? Blue-eyed. The Britishers, what?
Like blue-eyed something. I know.
So when you read all the names from all the individual recipes from different women, you just read the names and, Corsetji and Cooper and Spencer and, like, oh.
And I love that it also has, so many of those are British recipes.
Yeah.
Which we've kind of just been like, no, you know what? Now this is mine.
And British recipes, there's that entire section around the world where they have like recipes from Azerbaijan, Ethiopia, and I'm like...
And this is like, in the 60s and 70s when that information wasn't available.
Yeah, so, absolutely. That book is amazing. I actually don't find myself cooking a lot from it. I'll tell you what, I actually I love it as a reading, just to read.
Yeah.
Just to read. Yeah. It's a great book, but I don't find myself using it a lot. Because I feel like it's too simplified. Yeah, it's too simplified. Some of the recipes are too simplified in there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And not all of them work.
Yeah, I feel that.
So it's good to get like an idea of a dish, but then you'd still need to go
I'm sure
see
whoever's
like
listening is like, we are talking about this book, but we are also kind of dissing it. But you have to have the book to understand what, and be a cook to understand. Yeah. Because I actually machino sauce. I was looking for a good recipe. The Time and Talents one is weird. Like they instead of like for thickening, they just use like regular flour and like no egg emulsion. I was like, what's going on? Like, why is none of that happening in this recipe?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, we'll just take a quick break and we'll just be right back.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As I have asked you guys before, if you're finding what you listen to interesting, then please take a screenshot of what you're listening to, send us a note with it, tag us on social media. We'll either, talk about it, we'll take the feedback into consideration, or we'll repost it. We just really appreciate getting feedback like that, as do all of our hosts. Also, want to mention the fact that we're still hiring at the best place on earth to work in, which is the IVM Podcast Network. So if you're interested, please do send us an email to careers@indusvox.com. One other thing I wanted to mention, that this is the week of the crossover. We have not one, not two, not three, but 4 crossovers this week on the network. Hosts from one show are showing up on another, and so if you'd like to listen to your favorite host in a different context, stay tuned and find out where they appear. On the Ronnie Screwvala podcast, Ronnie talks to me about the importance of focus, empathy, and choices, and how those 3 aspects have formed the crux of his journey. On Cyrus Says, we have a crossover episode as film and TV journalists and hosts of the podcast on the very IVM network that you're listening to right now, Mr. and Mrs. Binge Watch, Anirudh and Janice Sequeira talk to Cyrus about how spouses with different tastes in TV get along, how to interview celebrities, and the onslaught of remakes. On Ganatantra, Alok and Saryu talk about the institutional tug-of-war between the judiciary and the political executive over appointment of High Court and Supreme Court judges. You can also catch Ganatantra host Alok Prasanna Kumar as a guest on the Pragati podcast talking to Pawan Srinath about how India's anti-defection law has undermined democracy. On a simplified shorty, Chuck Naren and Shrikhet talk about all of the other unusual variants of cricket which are played around the world. Things like whoop cricket and stuff like that. I think you'll enjoy that. On Keeping It Queer, Naveen and Farhad are joined by Mr. Gay World India, Suresh Ramdas. He throws light on gay pageants and why this representation matters. On States of Anarchy, Anuhita Majumdar of Himal South Asian joins Hamsini to discuss the crackdown on press freedoms across South Asia. On Paperback, the founder of Arugula & Company, Niharika Goenka, joins Satyajit and Racheta to discuss her secrets to the healthy lifestyle and books that motivate her thoughts. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
So, welcome back, Farhad.
Hi.
So, we were talking about a little bit, we mentioned a little bit, but I want your thoughts on authenticity versus innovation.
Okay.
We spoke about how we both were horrified that someone added pineapple to Dhansak.
Yeah.
And somewhere I read that someone was making Dhansak wraps, which was like wraps with like a... like a Mexican thing.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Dhansak. Dhansak was supposed to be eaten after death, but now it's actually dying. The dish itself is dying, I guess.
But, how do you keep it authentic, but then also innovate with times, right? Like that's, it's a very big struggle when it, especially when it comes to regional food, because for those minority communities, like you already touched upon, food is such a part of who we are. It's how we define ourselves as Parsis. Yeah. So then what do we do? Like if our food completely changes, I
have no idea how to answer that question. Again, when you're asking me that, you're really hitting a nerve because this is a tear I feel within myself all the time, right? And on some level, I feel the need to preserve what I'm cooking or preserve traditions or whatever. I wouldn't call it traditions, that's a heavy word. But keeping it intact the way it is. Right. And then doing that also makes you feel like, oh my God, but then it's dying, because how often today, one of the reasons I'm so excited to be here talking to you about this is because I don't have friends who I can talk to this about. Leave alone friends who I can talk to food about. I'm not a Bagh boy. Yeah. I've not lived in a Bagh ever. So I literally have a handful of Parsi friends who I don't even can talk to Parsi in, you know what I mean? So I constantly feel this. I don't know sometimes I feel like the easy things okay, if it's akuri, sometimes bacon, sometimes, your green garlic and all of. So some sort of variation.
I've made Sali Margi pizza and I must say it tastes very nice.
Yeah, sounds great. It really does.
Leftover. And essentially, so what I try to do when I innovate is I don't actually innovate on the main base of the food. Okay. So I wouldn't change the taste of Sali chicken. Because for me that would change the taste.
Get it. Okay.
But I've done...
You would pair it with something
I've done it because... It eventually just came up because I had very little Sali chicken, which I could not do anything with. Yeah. So I was spread it on a pizza base, add a little cheese, add some Sali on top once it's baked. And it was nice.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I've made a Sali boti pie, which was Sali boti plus keema. So it was double meat.
In fact, I have to say, I was at a party once and I think you had catered there and there was Kid Goes biryani.
Kid Goes pulao.
Kid Goes pulao. Yeah. It was delicious.
So I had a really hilarious story about this. So we did this for Navroz and obviously the non-Parsis were really keen to try out something like that, but the Parsis didn't quite get it. Okay. What is Kid Goes Pulao? So at 8:30 in the night, we had wrapped up the kitchen and everything, and this auntie calls me and she's like, but Dikra, there is only one box, there is only the rice, where is the Kid Goes? And I'm like, no, the Kid Goes is inside the rice that. Okay. So it is hard, you struggle with that when people have a very set perception about what something is meant to taste and look like. But at the same time, it's actually a bestseller now on our menu, because people really like it.
Yeah. I don't know. I really try to innovate. I don't know how to do it, honestly. I don't.
So also, but one of the easiest ways I feel to innovate is also like you could add an egg to it or add like mutton to it. So I actually have these magnets which like when in doubt, break an edu on it. And it will like anything. You can make choris per edu and this per edu.
That's true.
So what is your favorite per edu dish?
It's okay, I also feel like this was something I've not had anywhere. But my dad used to make, when it was called Ruffles Lays, my dad used to do Ruffles Lays per edu. I don't know, again.
I mean, that's like a wafer
papeta per edu. No, but this was magic masala, the flavor with edu on it. I don't know. He used to make it so he would like add just 2-3 tablespoons of water to this so that the wafers get a little soft, and then he used to add this edu on it. My favorite per edu, if I have to though, was my friend Elzad. His dad, they're in New Zealand now. He used to make salami and a sausage per edu. That was my favorite. It was again your basic patio recipe, but with salami, sausages, lots of coriander, and with usually all the per edus, I feel like there's a difference between some people beat the egg and make an omelette on top. I like whole sunny side on top of my this.
The sunny side is, I mean, I think that people don't make it because it's difficult to cook, right? Like, I mean, not everyone can do a sunny side up properly.
But more in the shakshuka category. I'm more in that like sort of, I love salami.
So I have a funny story about shakshuka. My mom recently had turned vegetarian. I mean, for health reasons, she turned vegetarian 3-4 years ago. And we were in touring the South Island of New Zealand.
Okay.
So we were in Queenstown and we decided we'll have like a heavy brunch and then go.
Sure.
So we all ordered from the cabinet, just like sandwiches, vagera. And she was like, no, I'll have like a shakshuka.
Okay.
And so it was like $19. And I was like, because it's like in the part of the mains. And so she was like, yeah, order whatever. Yeah. And it came and she's like, oh, this is tomato per edu. I'm like, I could have made a better salipa. And she felt so ripped off.
You think this is a Parsi problem? We hated going out to eat with my especially my mom. Because every time, I can make it at home. This is at home. I can make it at home. It was such a common problem with us.
That's a problem with good cooks. I mean, I find that as well sometimes now because my kitchen makes such good food.
Sure.
I just feel like everything outside is kind of like I go out and then I'm like, oh, this has got too much garlic. Oh, this has too much salt. And everything is just... Unfortunately, all the menus, everyone's doing the same thing. They're just doing what sells.
I know.
I get it that they're doing it because that's the stuff that sells. But, there's no like... new things
I get it.
that are really there.
I recently went to Ministry of Crab and I was so excited because, one of the best restaurants in the world and all. I was like, everything was so overpowering. The pepper, this, I couldn't taste the crab in it,
Yeah.
So it's a little, when I go out, even I have that.
You sound very much like jealous. Food snobs now.
No, not food snobs. I just feel, in fact, you know what I feel? I feel jealous of people who taste something, this has this in it. I can't do that.
I
don't
can't
have
do that either.
Even when I watch it in Hell's Kitchen, that blind test and all they do, I would immediately fail that. Like, I would have no idea what I'm putting.
Actually, I hate eating my food, like, if my eyes are closed.
The thing is, a majority of my life early on, I used to hate my own food. I feel it's a common problem. A lot of chefs face that, where they don't like their own food, even though other people love it. You are like, what the f***? It's like listening to your own voice, a recorded voice. Sometimes you listen to your own recorded voice, you're like, yuck, this is what I sound like. I felt like that about my food. But again, now I've reached a point where I'm so confident about certain food that I make, which is another problem. I feel I'm very limited in what I cook. I feel I'm I'm one of those people, I'd rather cook 5 things, but for those really 5 things, those people have to come to me. Yeah. That's me. Like if it's Dhansak, those people have to come to me. I don't have to they don't have to look somewhere else. I like to be that guy. So I don't know if that's what's limiting me as a home chef sometimes. But that does happen. So many times, if it's Dhansak, I get a call. I have just a small nexus of pregnant women who, after they've delivered, they just want to eat my Dhansak. Because, protein and all of Dhansak is supposed to be. Yeah. So, I love that I'm starting to be like at least known as, if it's Dhansak, call this guy, So, I love that feeling.
And what do you feel like? I mean, we spoke about Dhansak and things like that. But do you feel that like nowadays there are many restaurants and people who are doing Parsi food. Touchwood. But they're making an attempt. I feel like it's becoming a little more accessible at least. Going out of the homes. Yeah. But do you feel Parsi food is still the best at someone's home? Or would you take them to a restaurant?
Absolutely. Today, till date, and this is the part where I'll sound like a food snob and rightly so. And you have to back me up on this. But You know it. You know it. Sometimes, I don't know. When my friends ask me what's a good place to eat, hey, I want to eat Parsi food, where do I go? I have no idea what to say.
Yeah, I know.
I've literally at a loss for words because it's like the best of the worst situation. You know, maybe, oh, Jimmy boy, I don't like the food at all, but they do a decent bhida paridu.
Yeah.
I like their kid ghost is okay. Soda bottle opener wala, big no. Big no. I've tried. I ordered a farcha there once and it had green chutney. They tried to like patrani machi chutney on the chicken and then the egg coat. I was like, what the fuck are these people doing? In
It's
fact,
like
I had a
Parsi
huge
food for
fight.
like the non-Parsis.
Pali Hill, there's a opposite Five Spice, there's this A1 snack shack.
Oh, yeah.
And they wrote authentic Parsi cuisine there. And I ordered one thing. It was not even like eatable.
Close to-
Honestly, it was not. It was terrible. I ordered Sali Boti, I remember. It was terrible. Okay, so I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe they got this wrong. I ordered something else. Okay, maybe they got this wrong. I ordered something. And then in the end, when I was paying and they knew it. I wasted most of my food. So he asked me, sir, everything okay and all of that. I was like, I'm so sorry, but just say Parsi cuisine. Don't say authentic Parsi cuisine. You know, I felt like such a snob. Then even I had gone with my girlfriend and she's like, why do you have to be like that? But I was like, no, this is what I face when my friends ask me where the do I eat Parsi food. This is the reason I don't know what to say because, and what, do you like Britannia?
No.
There. I wish everybody could see the face person. Everyone, it's so frustrating, right?
Yeah.
All your friends.
I mean, 700 rupees for a berry pulao is like...
I know. And what
it
is that
doesn't
pulao?
even have...
Yeah, what is that pulao? I ordered patrani machi there. And I was very late to the Britannia Club, by the way. I went after years of hearing about Britannia. When I actually moved to Bombay in 2007, that's when I went to Britannia.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the f*** is everyone on about? But you know what? I realized something. Only the non-Parsis love these. Because they don't know what they've not...
So that's what I'm saying. For them, it's about the access, right? And I think that's maybe what we as Parsis need to do. Like if we want people to try what the real thing is, like we need to make the Parsi food accessible to them.
And I like that. You know, for me, even most of my dates, like Tinder dates, Grindr dates, all of them involve, I call a person over, hooking up or no, that's optional. But like, I usually have a little stool in my kitchen. The person sits on that and I just entire conversation, whatever, getting to know the person happens while I'm cooking. And I love that format. And then in the end for them to see their face when they're eating something authentic, something new. And these are all people who've, leave alone not heard of Parsi food. Sometimes they've not even met a Parsi.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I sometimes online...
And it's such a responsibility on us, right? Like then like you want to... Like, I mean, because you represent your community.
I feel the weight of that responsibility sometimes. Because so many times I'm online and they're like, they assume because of my name Farhad, they assume I'm Muslim a lot of times. Sometimes because I'm intermittent fasting, they're like, oh, Ramzan, that's why. I'm like, no, I'm not Muslim. And then they're like, oh, so what are you? And I say Parsi, they're like, what's that? And I'm like, wow, we must be really rare now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for someone to not even know what a Parsi is. So, got the responsibility to like, and then these restaurants come and fucking jam shit food. I remember I was at Paradise on Kolaba. I once ordered a dhansak there. Okay, I am not kidding. I got a teacup saucer, like a teacup saucer of dhansak with a chicken leg that, first of all, they had no mutton dhansak. It was only chicken dhansak.
So then technically, so that's not even dhansak.
That's not even dhansak. It had like sambar type giant pumpkin pieces for some odd reason, but I'm not kidding. The chicken leg did not even look like a chicken leg. It looked like a fucking quail egg. Like it was tiny.
So this is what we Parsis call ke chicken ne polio thayo sir.
Oh,
that's what my
my
granny used to say.
Yeah, I ate polio chicken that day then. And when the bill came, I literally ate only that. And a teacup saucer of dhansak rice, okay, which was also very, how do you f*** that up? But they f***ed it up. When the bill came, it was some 600 and something. And I went to the counter and I was like, Auntie Jara, it was overpriced. Dikra, do you know Kolaba Kozema rent such hai? She went on that tangent. I was like, why are you fucking a food? Because your rent is so high. Like, what the hell? So yeah, it tends to get very snobby. I tend to get very snobby sometimes. And sometimes I feel it's justified. Yeah. It's justified.
But what about Parsi wedding food? Do you feel it's like passe or...
I'm going to cry. I feel like, again, because we are so less... I don't get invited to weddings anymore. There's so few to come by. At least you are a bagbo. You stay in DPC, so you must be getting a lot of invites or no, I don't know. I get like maybe one a year, and sometimes it's some distant cousin who I've never even bothered to keep in touch with, but they're...
But you'll go, because it's like wedding food.
I'll go with a plus one. And that also I'll take a friend who's never eaten at a Parsi and I'll be like, first I'll find out who the caterer is, of course. And I'll go. I recently went for one, and you won't believe it. It was at Turf Club, and there was
it buffet?
I found, yeah.
Yeah, so now my husband makes me do this embarrassing thing where he makes me ask, like, jara find out karne ke, like, is it buffet or patru? Because if it's buffet, then we won't bother going. Like,
Same.
Waste time.
Even I messaged my mom. She told me, hey, ena lagan che, do you want to go and all of that? I was like, what's the food? Is it apru godi wala and all of that? She said, Ave Farhad, how can I ask all of that? I was like, find out. And my mom actually messaged another cousin to find out. And she said, mixed chair. She said mixed chair, and I went and I was like, fuck. And then my friend is like, this is Parsi food. I was like, no, shut the fuck up. I'll have to get invited to another wedding. But what do I feel about, Godiwala?
Yeah.
I'm a Godiwala boy. I love it.
I mean, do you feel like the menu should change, or do you like it that the menu never changes? I mean, aside from
I think it's a problem for us. For again, when we are Parsis, we've had the same thing again and again. So we might feel a little this. But if it's from a point of education, if it's for a non-Parsi, if they experience that, I'm okay with it. Then if it's the same thing again and again, I'm fine with it. And again...
And are you team Patrani Machi or team Sosni Machi?
Wow, that, how do I answer? Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm Sosni Machi. I'm Sosni because I always feel like pomfret, apro chamno is such a delicate fish, you know, in terms of flavor. And I sometimes find wedding food tends to make very overpowering chutney, which sort of has the... Unless it's like...
And Godiwala makes a killer sauce.
They do.
Like, I mean, even as a caterer myself, I'll admit it, they just do like an amazing
I can't even
machi.
begin to imagine, because if they're cooking in huge quantities, I don't know how they do get the emulsion right.
And I think, but that's the point. I mean, they will... I also feel it tastes nice because it's made in such huge quantities.
But
like when you make a sasni machi, like for a tiny this, it never ends up tasting tasting nice.
Absolutely. Either it's too sweet or it's too vinegary or whatever. But like, I'm sasni machi. Like, although I love patrani machi, but I somehow at a wedding, actually fucking shamelessly, I'll eat two patrani, some weddings have both.
Some weddings I go and just eat the fish.
Absolutely. My patra looks like a fucking graveyard of like the sea. Oh my God. Like, but I love, and sometimes I feel like the problem also comes with the affordability of these dishes. Today, mutton, I don't want to be like machi no bhav suche, mutton no bhav suche, but mutton is like 1,200 a kilo, good mutton, you know, if I want good fucking giant. And that's another thing. Okay, I have to, sorry, I keep digressing, but I feel like I go outside to eat and they give you these little mutton pieces that are like bite-sized, and you have to have dhansak in my house. You could club someone to death with a piece of mutton. You could hit someone in the head with the marrow piece. You know what I mean? They are huge, like huge. Soft.
And I mean, that's what I love about our Parsi food. Like, so much of it shows the generosity.
Which is
like, you know,
you are a chef, you'll understand this. A lot of times, people who order from me, they're like, Farhad, you sent too much food. They actually... And I was like, you know what? I know how business-wise, that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea, right? If I'm really trying to make a profit and all, that's... But somehow, while I'm cooking, I'm just like, nahi kam pari just nahi kam pari. What if the ghost is not enough? So I overcompensate. It's a huge problem. I'm trying to work around it because a lot of my friends who also do this, they give me advice. Farhad, you really overdo it. Your dhansak for 2 people is actually for 5 people. But I'm like, you know what? I'd rather... That's how I've been fed.
And happy.
That's how I've been fed. You know, that's a Margina curry chawal has to, like, when it's over, become Idanu curry chawal. I don't want them to end it. So I even think of the leftovers, like what they'll eat for leftovers sometimes, which is a problem. But that's another problem I feel. Just the portion of meat or the kind of like grandeur with which each dish is made, I feel like that's lacking in so many restaurants and outside, which is another reason why I dapat and I eat at all these weddings, because where else I can't buy a chamna. They are expensive as hell. They are like so fucking expensive in the market. I can't think of $2,000, $3,000 for a giant one. There's no way I can afford that. So which is I don't know if you face this as a problem, but so many times do you feel your clients think you quote a little too high because our ingredients, what go into Parsi food, it's really the process. Leave alone, I'm not even charging for my labor. Today, if I get a dhansak order for a Sunday, I start at a Friday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't expect them to understand that. But just breaking it down as a dish, it is a fucking expensive dish to make.
Yeah.
Your dhansak rice itself, the spices that go into it today, what is ilaichi? What is black ilaichi? It's fucking expensive.
Yeah.
So I wish people would get, these are the little anxieties that come with being a Parsi chef, I feel.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you feel that all the time too.
And it's only Parsi clients who will just take this for granted. So I've always found, but Parsi clients will be like, one plate will serve 3 people, no? And this is the
assumption. It's an
standard assumption.
We are our own enemies.
Anyway, so I've had a lovely time, but I'd like to end with one last question. So that if there's one thing you had to eat before you died, would it still be dhansak?
I have the most cliched answer. Wait, can I take 2 seconds to think about this? Can I say 2-3 things? Please?
Yeah, of course. So, no, by the way, no one on the show, when I've asked them, has finished with one thing. It's always like, okay, this, and then I'll also have something else.
The easy answer, I guess, is a patru. I want to eat a good wedding.
Like a whole patru.
Yeah, like I want. Maybe that's what will kill me. It's not even my last meal. I'll just eat so much, I'll die right there.
5-6 pomfrets, but malse ke nahi malse, no.
I can actually eat 5-6 pomfrets, but I'll tell you what. Apart from my mom's dhansak, which by the way is not so good anymore, but. I would say my dad's sausage pulao. Oh. Yeah, and which is so random because when I say sausage pulao, someone might think it's a chorizo pulao or it's some, I don't know, like they might think it's like a different kind of whatever. But my dad somehow innovated this. I remember it was a school picnic. My dad gave me, for the first time he had made this sausage pulao. And again, it was like enough to feed 10 people. Yeah. We had gone on a picnic. One person came and ate, and this was a sausage, your packet sausages, nothing like exotic or anything. Right. And oh my God, my dad just hit it out of the park with that one. So much so that my teachers called my dad up. They got his number from the freaking records of my school, and they were like, can we get the recipe of that? And then it became a standard in my house. My dad saw, my friends would come over, even like people who, like friends my parents didn't approve of, they would be like, please uncle, can you make sausage pulao?
So let me get this right. So you want sausage pulao, then you want a full patru.
Full patru. And okay. I'll be a very happy dead person. Very happy. All the vultures can come get me. Yeah.
All the vultures will also be very happy.
Oh my God.
So doing like community service as you go.
Can I tell you something? Sorry. But like recently I have a friend who's a mobed. And a mobed, for people who don't know, is a priest who he told me that this vulture system is on its way out. Kanke vulture avi ne khali toppings khaine chali jai. And I said, what the is toppings? He said, nahi aankh, naak, tongue khaine udi jai. So whenever I think of like Parsis like vultures, that's the first thing. They just eat the toppings and go. Like us at Parsi weddings. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Farhad. I've had such a lovely time.
Same here. You promised me another episode is going to happen. I'm going to hold you to that.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, thanks Farhad.
Bye.
Filter coffee is a fascinating beverage. You need to pick the right beans, blend them in the right proportion, roast them to perfection, and slow brew at the right temperature to get the perfect cup. Which is exactly like great conversations as well. You need to track down the most interesting minds, get them into their zone, and settle down for an unhurried, unscripted chat. And coffee for me is always best enjoyed with friends. I'm Karthik Nagarajan, and do share my table as I meet some of the most interesting people I know and sit them down for a strong cup of coffee and an even stronger conversation. Join me every Wednesday for a freshly brewed episode. This is not frappe. This is the Filter Coffee Podcast.
Do you wish you were smarter? Well, so do we. But the next best thing?
We could make you sound smarter.
And to help you with this endeavor, we are Simplified, a podcast that attempts to break down the complex world around you with a little knowledge, a lot of poor jokes, and a ton of random trivia.
Episodes out every Monday
on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
See ya!